quite a few people from outside the region, which we very much welcome. So welcome to everybody so far, and probably more will join us. So I'll just go straight away to sharing my slides. That will take a second. And so can I just check whether my slides are visible? Yeah, I see some nodding. So yes, as I said, so this is our annual stakeholder event. Last year we had a great event, and I hope this year will be equally great, and it will be very different this year as we deliberately allowed people from outside the region to come in. Last year it happened a bit by sort of default, as we were still very much learning on on running larger virtual events. Anyway, this year it's all about impact and making impact work. So I will just provide a few points about housekeeping. So this is the program which you should have seen on the Eventbrite. It's now obviously finalized. And I'll just, so about the housekeeping rules, can we please turn off the microphone, or otherwise I think somebody will turn off microphones for you, as this can be very disturbing if me hear your dog barking or cat meowing. I recommend to keep video on unless your connection is poor. I think it creates different meetings, but obviously you are free to make a choice. And if you have any questions or there is any issue, you please raise the hand, which is at the bottom, this raise hand icon, which you can find at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And I think we also recommend, you could do that in a break if you haven't done so already, to install the Zoom desktop application, which is very easy to download for both PCs or Microsoft-based Windows and Macs or Apple systems. So I'll just now want to say a few things about the RDS, as it is us who is running this. And so I think I'll just go back, although it's now a little while ago, on our annual report. We write just now the annual report for 21-22, but we get feedback always quite late. And last year, I think we had very positive feedback, and I just want to share with you, and also it reflects some of the key efforts we made and achievements we could demonstrate. So first point is that really engagement across the system was reported in an expanded program of online events. So quite a few events we run in, actually 36 events, which received generally very positive feedback. Social care is really a major priority in the Southeast, perhaps particularly in the Kent area, but we all work on that priority. And with a virtual service now we run, it has actually become much easier to support people across the region, say from the Kent team. Public involvement activities have been strengthened, and we work with a number of the NIHR family, as I call it, CRN, ARC, the Applied Research Collaboration, etc. And we have been designated a Reaching Out project to foster more involvement of underserved communities, which is a top priority, I would say, for the NIHR, but also for us. And we were praised for our case studies. So these are some of the people who are probably in the room who contributed to these case studies. So if you are there, many thanks. I think these case studies make for really interesting reading and they are somehow in some way shared often through our newsletter. And for all our performance criteria, as you probably know, we are all performance assessed. So we received green flags across the board, which was very pleasing. As I said, some of the case studies are in our newsletter, and here you can find it. It's available on our website, and I also put a link here. Slides will be shared, so you can look it up very easily. And I recommend looking at it. It's really a great newsletter with really interesting projects which are presented, and also quite a few updates on the RDS. The only one thing I would want to say is that we as a service have really moved, I would say, wholeheartedly and wholesale to virtual delivery. Actually, there were only recently the first events which were in person again. And tomorrow, actually, we have a national staff event in London. So some of us will go there in person, others will attend virtually. So it's very little in real life meetings, but there is a shift now, and probably we end up with having a bit of a blended system, for lack of a better word. But yes, so this is an interesting change, and I think overall it works very well. I also wanted to just very briefly say mention some major developments within RDS. I think it is important that our stakeholders are aware of that. So Dr. Claire Roston is our new Deputy Director. Dr. Funmi Vaughan is our strategic lead in public involvement. Dr. Kate Shee is our new program manager. And Dr. Bernadette Egan, who is with us for a long time and was deputy director, is now moving to a new role as Surrey site lead again on the 1st of August. So this is particularly relevant, obviously, to the Surrey team and also all the people who primarily use the Surrey site. But as I said before, I think it is now a service which runs much more across the region with input coming from all three hubs in our region. And last but not least, Dr. Stacey Rand is our new lead for strategic lead, I should say, for social care research. So welcome to all of you. I should also say there are some others who joined us in minor roles, and I would want to welcome them here, and also everybody who wants to find out a bit more. It's all on our website, which I think is pretty up to date. I would also like to use this opportunity to really express my thanks to all those who moved on to other roles, changed roles, or whatever they are now doing, many of them keeping in touch with us and still supporting, as I see it, the RDS Southeast and the RDS more generally. The outlook is really the close collaboration, working together with many of our stakeholders, and that the organizations I think of foremostly are the Clinical Research Network, the clinical trials units in our region. There are 3 now, just one nascent one in Kent, but 2 established ones, trusts, public health departments, social care bodies, and again, last but not least, the higher education institutions, very important to us, and to make sure that we deliver an excellent service, which I hope you feel we do. The final point really here to make before I stop is that the remit and strategic priorities of RDS have expanded considerably. So we are busier than ever with this expansion into social care, into public health, into industry-driven research, and all the other priorities, continuing with PPIE and equality, diversity, and inclusiveness, and impact. And we move back on to impact in a second. So if I may then sort of move on to Rebecca and invite her as our impact lead to make a few points around the impact champions and about her ideas around impact. I'll stop sharing my slides and I will hand over to Rebecca. Rebecca, are you ready
I'm here,
to go?
thank you. So yes, hi, I'm Rebecca Cassidy. I'm a research advisor for RDS Southeast and a research fellow at the University of Kent. And I've been asked to briefly introduce myself and our programme today, as I'm part of a national RDS programme called Impact Champions. So I'm the Impact Champion for RDS Southeast. And today's event, Making Impact Work, is part of a wider and ongoing focus on strengthening the impact of research across the RDS and across NIHR. So the Impact Champions are a group of advisors from each of the RDS regions nationally. We came together as a new group in 2020 and were able then to take part in the NIHR Impact Training Programme, which Claire was part of, which runs yearly for their staff. And this was the first time that the RDS had also been invited to join. So that was great and has allowed us all to really develop a greater understanding of how impact is understood and how it's assessed at different levels or at different points across the research cycle. So for ourselves as RDS advisors and for the research teams that we advise, thinking through how you plan a research project and how you build impact into that planning and obviously into your application for funding. And then it's also been eye-opening to work with that programme, thinking through the different teams within the NIHR as they address impact in different ways, the panels that assess research applications, and also then provide support to successful applications to strengthen the impact of their research as they go forward. And then, of course, there's an even broader kind of level where we're thinking through the overall impact that the NIHR has nationally and internationally for patients and for practice in health and social care. So being part of this programme has given really invaluable insights into how to guide research teams, how to give advice, to present their plans at the application stage. And we as the research champions, some of whom might be here today, have learned a lot and also need to engage in our own knowledge mobilisation and so spread the learning that we have had, both of course to people we advise and also other advisors. So RDS is of course a key interface with researchers, giving the advice for their applications, to plan for their impact and what they can do and to aim for what will work in practice. Some of the work we've undertaken over the last year through engaging with this programme includes developing a simple guide to impact for RDS advisors, which has been launched recently, and that aligns with obviously impact practice guidance developed centrally for NIHR and for reviewers. We've also been running a set of events and training, and there's events like this going on in different regions to back up the kind of impact agenda. Yeah, we're hoping that all of these kind of build into being able to give the best guidance to applicants and to understand and to consider the key questions and issues in order to really reinforce the impact of their research findings and their projects. For me as a researcher and an RDS advisor, impact and the real change that can come from doing research is kind of key to why we do research, and is one of the most important factors for it. So I think events like today are really important. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's a really interesting programme, and I hope we'll have some exciting discussion about how to move impact forward. So I'll pass back to Jorg now.
Many thanks, Rebecca. Very useful, and very useful to, I think, be aware of all the practical steps which have been taken in developing these communities of practice around impact, but also around other areas. Yes, so many thanks. So I'll just go back to sharing my screen very briefly and then hand over to, so I'll just go back to present a few just for a second. So our program is first Dr. Mark Hewert, or as I found out this morning, Mark, sorry, you are professor now, I believe. So I have adjusted it in some other places, but not yet here. And so he will be our first speaker. Then we will have a very quick coffee break, and there is an opportunity to also use the chat and contact others, talk. Then Julie Bailey will talk, and then we have another very quick break. Then we come, Claire Vaughan and Candace Imison will talk about maximizing NIHR's impact. another coffee break, and then a workshop. And I hope you'll join, stay with us for this, and don't drop off, as sometimes happens, as we have planned this interactive session you're using Mural, which is also a bit of a novelty for us. So I hope, I keep fingers crossed that it will work out and will be of benefit to everybody and developing a discussion. So these are the speakers. They weren't not all keen to have their pictures posted here, but there you are. And then later on, we will have this comfort break. But anyway, I'll stop sharing my screen and welcome Professor Mark Hayward, who is a research R&D director at one of the trusts, the Sussex Partnership, and also a member of the Sussex School of Psychology, University of Sussex. Over to you, as I think I don't want to spend now long times on highlighting all the achievements which you truly achieved in your career so far. So over to you, Mark.